Huh?
He's my brother, I'm his sister.
That's right. And this is like,
Not this hand, that hand.
oh, and this is the bracelet in India.
Not a bracelet.
Well, what is
It's
it?
a Rakhi.
Ah, and this is,
One sister ties for one brother.
and the sisters tie up for the brothers.
And you give me gift.
Yeah,
And
So-
you should.
I know. I owe
If
you.
you will not give, I will not talk to you.
I always give you gifts. You're my sister.
Gift.
See, like, look at this. This is a good friendship. My sister.
Yes, I am his sister. And he's my brother.
All right. So we talk to y'all soon. This is the holiday here in India, once a year.
Raksha Bandhan.
That's what it's called?
Rakhi.
That's awesome, ain't it? All right. So we learned something new. This is Elitom El-Amin, Breatharian. And here I am in wonderful Mumbai, India, during this beautiful monsoon season. And today we're going to talk about the Breatharian mentality of study. Now, when one approaches the knowledge of Breatharian, it can be very intriguing. It's a mystery within itself. So by its nature, you'll see many people who try to teach it and teach what it's about. And 99.9% of the time they get it wrong because they never really experienced or accomplished it, but just due to its nature, many people try. And this knowledge is making a resurrection today in humanity, but you got to keep in mind, when we deal with the ancient masters of ancient times, those were truly geniuses. See, when you look at some civilizations where they can create literature, art, architecture, that means that the people of that time, to even be able to create that, was in a time period where they wasn't on a survival level, where they had to worry about food, worry about war, worry about the next day or what's going to happen. So that gave them the time to get into art, literature, and different types of geographies and making some things that still are affecting us today. When you got a group of people or a civilization who's on a survival level, they don't have time to go into art and literature. So keep in mind a lot of these ancient cultures, let's say Kemet, which is Egypt, India, Greece, they had a lot of time on their hands, way more longer than this civilization. I mean, they went into thousands of years, dynasties. So that means they have accomplished one thing we know. There had to be a time of peace where it gave the people time to use their minds, use their mentalities. So today, when I see a person that got a habit, a hobby, or they're using more of their mind, it's because it's usually that they got a lot of the physical things taken care of. When you don't have your physical things taken care of, it's hard for you to use your mental energy because you're being exhausted physically. So you're only given so much mental energy a day. You're only given so much. So how is a person using that energy? And when I come across most people, reading and writing is awesome, right? We usually learn that in school now if you're fortunate. But a lot of people, as they hit adulthood, they really don't use that skill. The only time they'll read something if it's totally necessary. But to study and get self-knowledge and to learn about themselves, learn about nature, learn about the universe, that's just not in them. And I'm saying all that to say this, that takes a certain type of mentality when you deal with your transformation. It is a life of study. You're studying yourself, you're studying nature, because your own nature, and it takes a certain mind to really love to study themselves. That's why the scripture says, know thyself, but you should know God. And then one of the first Hermetic laws, also in the Kabbalion, dealing with the 7 universal principles, it says everything is mental, everything is mind. What they're saying is you got nature, you got the universe, and they're saying that there's a force, an underlying force that connects all of that together. And that's how they relate to God. In other words, it's a high upper reality, a high frequency. And what it's saying is God don't create on a physical level. He created this universe of nature through his mind. In other words, he creates through, that's why even science is saying, how is something created? Nothing to something. Many of them are digging into it. But is it really nothing? We don't even understand what that means. But that's okay. But we are basically living in an imagination of that force. So when you read the Hermetica, they're saying one thing man has, he has the ability to create a maintain himself, to connect with that force through your mental mind. When you deal with different practices, spiritual practices of yoga, they say a spiritual person, a true spiritual person, can get to the point where they can create from their mind only. They came into contact with that underlying force that we have access to. So even when we use that word spirituality, there's times I'll tell you when we don't use that word, just think of energy. I do that to build you up. But the word spirit is dealing with a high frequency vibration. It's dealing with our vibrations of thoughts. All thoughts carry a vibration or frequency to it. There's lower level frequencies and there's higher level. So when you're on your journey, you're going to have to train yourself to maintain consistently higher frequency thoughts. This isn't for a negative person. This isn't for a person who don't love to study. Now study, dealing with this mental exhaustion. Of course you can get physically exhausted. Have you ever felt mental exhaustion? You really didn't do that physically, but you were working your mind. And your brain and your mind, when you start training it, it's like a muscle. See, there's times I could talk for hours and people start getting sleepy. It ain't that the content is boring. The mind only can take but so much information a day. I even had to get trained this way. I was up under a teacher who taught me really good information, but my mind didn't keep up until I stayed up under him constantly. And I started to build up my mental exhaustion where it became stronger. And a lot of people come on this path, they don't have the mental capacity starting out, and that's okay. You have to build it up just like a muscle. So that's why it does take a certain type of person who love to keep their mental mind in the frequency of some knowledge to work on themselves. Now, even when we talk about physical information, when I was taking martial arts, I learned to move, and I did the whole move because I studied when I took it home and all of this. And the teacher said, good information that you practice. Wow, he called my physical movements information. And when I got deeper in the game, of course, I met other teachers. We were trained off information through our physical bodies. See, it takes a mind to understand this again. So you got to train yourself to start studying. That's why there's a thing called, just on the corporate world, higher education. Now listen at that. Higher education is different because the difference is not so much the information. That child who was in high school, usually their parents had to wake them up to go to school. If they don't make it to school some certain days, the school will call to make sure where you was at. In other words, you're still being baby. When you go into higher education, they don't care if you don't show up to class. The teacher ain't calling you up talking about they miss you. You done paid your money to go to class. And then you got all these choices to make, and people who do drop out and can't pass the test, there's many reasons, but a big one is what? Irresponsibility, partying too much, getting high, too much sex. A lot of people today. or why you there. So it's the same way with the spiritual game. People come into it, but they don't realize how much study it takes. You have to become a practitioner. A practitioner is one who's practicing the new information so that they can grow. I even had a friend, something told me to break away from him one time. This was years ago. Until years later, they finally admitted, you know, I never meditated past 3 days. And I knew that. I knew that because every time I got back with them, they were stuck. But they should have grew. And I could see that there was no growth taking place. But through laziness and procrastination, they were unable to rise up and transform themselves, and they didn't understand. See, it amazes me sometimes when people can sit up there, not to each his own, but I talk about the study work now. When people can sit up there talking about food all the time. Whether you eat or not eat, I never sat up there and just had a conversation about food. What's the best restaurant? Sending food pictures over social media. That's just not me. I'm a studier. My mind is too of a genius to sit up there doing stuff. It's thinking about other things. It's trying to figure things out. See, on a Breatharian journey, you got to have a study mind where you're trying to figure yourself out. You're trying to figure how this works. That's why you'll see some scientists, you know, the deep ones in the game, they'll probably get 6 suits all the same kind. They ain't got time to think about what am I going to wear today. I got 8 pair of clothes and that's it. You understand? Because I ain't got time to rattle through them and see what I'm going to wear like that. Because you're thinking about stuff. Some people just like that. See, the mind is like, say if you had a bucket. You only got so much energy a day to think with. But everything you do and how your life is going, there's a hole that goes in a bucket because you got to put energy into what you're creating. So when you're doing a lot of mundane things, you understand that's another hole in a bucket. So you're losing energy on what you could be directed into. So the Breatharian journey of everything that's mental and God creates by his mental mind, you are learning to do the same. You are actually mastering physical matter. That's why the spiritual masters who created these accomplishments, they had a thought process that became so real, it has power over the mechanical, physical level. That's what you're doing. Uh-oh. My scarf. Oh, I got it. That's what you're doing. That's what you're training yourself to do. But it takes it again, you must start mastering your thoughts, mastering your emotions. Now, emotions is a tricky one. Everybody has emotions. That's hardwired within us. But when your emotions override your decision making, you got to get that in check if you're going to be on these journeys. Serious, and that takes study again. That takes time and effort. Just like martial arts, somebody could show you a move, but you have to take that move home and practice it. Just because somebody showed you a new move to do, don't mean you're going to use it when that situation takes place. You have to do it over and over again through repetition to retrain your physical body, which is your subconscious mind. So it could be in there, because it's a program. But it's the same way with mental study. You should read some books. You should have been through them already. I just had to message some man not too long ago about don't ask no more questions. And that might sound mean, but no, it's not. He's asking questions that are out of his league. They're stupid. You should know this already on these levels. It's sort of like if you went to class, you're supposed to be in the 5th grade, but you're trying to jump in the 9th grade and you can't keep up. You in the wrong house. Somebody got to point, you got to go down there till you get caught up. We're talking studiers now. So there's certain literatures you should have read already. You should be through that stuff. There's certain meditations, you should already be a meditator. Or don't ask me the questions, you got to go into another classroom. There's studying, you don't have time. There's people trying to figure things out, where to put their resources. And that's another thing. On the journey, the first step of my journey, I had to realize how much time I had to get put into myself. So I couldn't do mundane things no more. Even when I moved to different places, this is what I did. I made sure I moved to a place where all the bills was under one package and they got paid for. I can't split my mind up like that paying lights, gas. That's why the system designed to take all of your mental energy. That's why you're exhausted. And for people who call me, well, I got this job that's very chaotic. Could I still become a breatharian? No. Your mind is too split up. You're too physically and mentally exhausted. This is the spiritual game now. You have to what? Reposition your mind and your life in a position where it has less stress on it so you can think. So you can work on yourself. You got to give yourself some time. Oh, man. Serious. And that's why I tell you when people that got families and stuff, especially small children, they ain't always going to be that age. You might have to wait for a minute. It takes a lot to take care of children. I know. You got a 2-year-old running around. You got to say stop, quit, where you at, what you into. You can't think with that type of mind. Not at the breatharian levels. This is a high vibrational energy. You got to take care of those responsibilities you already done. And then when it's time, everybody has a time if you're really sincere. But this is why we're talking about the breatharian mentality of study. Deep study. Like this is monsoon season. Man, I've been through a lot of stuff studying my mind. That's why I had to get this off my chest. And some people still comment. What was you doing with your time just now? They're mentally exhausted, but it was in other things besides what this study requires. It's the study of self, self-knowledge, identity. He who know himself know the universe. That's what it takes. You got to stay in this so that your mind can grow strong enough to start what? Mastering physical matter. See, there's a thing called the devil in the details. I'll give you an example. This civilization gives you knowledge, but it breaks it up in bits and pieces. So a person will come sometime challenging this knowledge, but they're talking in bits and pieces. What about this? What about that? They don't even know what that is. They just talking. But the devil in the details, meaning this is why you got to study. You got to go through each little thing until you uproot it to see what it's really trying to say. Give you an example. You got gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force and the weak force. Science says that's the 4 forces out here in nature. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force and the weak force. That's knowledge, that's information. However, that's watered down. When you become a study on the breatharian knowledge, remember when we started this out, the ancients said there's only one force that connects everything. So when you break down what gravity is, when you break down electromagnetism, when you break down the strong force and the weak force, it will come to one force. But you have to study it to wrap your head around it. The only force out here is magnetism. Gravity is just an acceleration of magnetism. But it takes a mind to figure that out. You got to study what you're looking at. Then there's that meme that says, somebody asks you a question over social media about the meme you got. But they're saying, for you to even ask that question, you got Google right in your hand. And somebody got to go give you this whole lesson. They shouldn't have to do that. You got to go home and do your homework and your studies. So when you come to class, we can carry on. This is for deep studiers. We got to say this. So a person won't think that you're supposed to make them into something. No, we're just paving the way. You got to do your work. That's why this is called the great work. That's why it's called self-realization. You have to realize it. There's still people, you can't go 1 day or 3 days without no food. That's what you can. You got to do the work till you can realize it, till it's easy, till you master it. Then you can move on. Every time somebody will take that's not going to happen. Your mind ain't strong enough. It's not connected to the force of nature like that. It ain't get strong. You don't even realize it. You got to get to the point you realize meditation. Yeah, you got to meditate. Said, a person don't meditate, there's no way in the world you can be wise. That negative voice is in everybody. Somebody just told me yesterday, you are positive. You are the positive person I know. I know I am. I worked at it. But that don't mean the negative voice exists. That negative voice is hardwired into us because it can be a protection type device. Just don't let it dominate you. Oh man. So again, as we deal with the Breatharian journey, the mentality of study. See, they're just like the way I think. I'm never going to mow a yard in my life. That's not going to happen. To me, that's mundane. I planted gardens before. I grew up on gardens, but I'm never going to do that again. That takes too much mental exhaustion and physical exhaustion on me. I'm thinking about other things. Let somebody else do that. Because we're studying some things. We're trying to really figure things out. You are a scientist of your life. That's just what you are. Oh my gosh. Your body's a laboratory. You need a mind of study. That's all it's thinking about. That's why they'll sell scriptures that say, my mind is always staying on the Lord and stuff like that. You always stand into higher thought to grow. This is what we're talking about. And some people's brains do retain more information than others. You know, due to the wiring, you know, the synapses in the brain is a lot more put together and stuff. But one thing we know through neuroplasticity, you can, whatever habit you start doing, it start changing the wiring of the brain. So you do got to develop a brain that's fit for study. This is what we're talking about. Getting a brain that's fit for study. Rewiring it, getting those things fired off, and you got to love to study. Because like I said, if you get a person to get distracted too much into mundane things don't mean nothing to your development. This path isn't for you. You got to go get that off your chest. This is what we're talking about. And like I just went into the family life, if you got that family life, take care of that. Don't think about becoming a breatharian and sitting there. That's not even fair for your spouse. That's not even fair for the children. And it's going to be miserable. You're doing it for other reasons. You got to ask yourself, what are the reasons you're doing it for? See, I can't be in no relationship because I don't care about going out for no watching Netflix with somebody like you lonely. If that's you, go do that. This journey ain't for you. Where we gonna go eat tonight? That's what a relationship is. And it won't be fair for the other person to have somebody they going with that ain't eating. They might as well go get somebody to eat if they eat. For real. That's a waste of time. And especially if we talk about you studying now, you're talking about electromagnetism. They want to talk about the movie y'all just watched. You're reading books of higher thought. And somebody will say, well, how about if you meet somebody like that? You meet another genius, y'all don't need to get together and make a contract. Say it, what you need to get together for. And yes, you have an orgasm, you lose energy. What I want to go through that for? And I done worked so hard to keep it at this level. Absolutely not. So again, the life of study. You got to be a practitioner of the truth in it. If not, you might have to go to another class. Right. I mean, if you're into fruits and that's all you see and you can wrap your head around, go to that class. That's not the Breatharian class. If you're into meat saying it's all right every once in a while, go to that class. Ain't nobody judging you. But stay in that class and stay out of this class. Because this is for a mind that's mastering itself. That's what it's for. They're serious about it. Using all their time and effort and energy and investments going back into themselves. That's what they're doing. They ain't trying to be mean or nothing. There's people in my life that say I was mean because I didn't want to pay them no attention no more. Right, I'm working on myself. You're getting on my nerves now. I'm not supposed to hold your hand. That's how you start rolling. So you even got to learn to say no. Being nice too much could be bad for you. You got to recognize that. We're thinking. We're doing things. Now, we ain't saying be mean and nasty. We ain't saying that, but you got to learn to say no. Cut it off. I got things to do. I don't feel like it. So somebody had to say that, because there's too many people don't like study, lazy, don't like to read. They got other reasons in their mind why they want to become on a breatharian path. And for right now, you can listen, it can get you excited, but just listen and see where you at. But if you're a practitioner, a person that's serious and want to do more, and not afraid to transform your life. Now, I do got to bring this up. Now, money is a vehicle that is very powerful on the planet. Nobody's arguing that. But even that, the ancients talked about it. Yeah, they did. They know how people could get caught up and trapped. They said it is easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a man to get to heaven. Now, that's very powerful. Now, we know a camel cannot get through an eye of a needle. Now, what they're saying is, when I started out the journey to give myself time, yes, I had a job and income, but I made sure it was just enough to get the things I need where I'm going to have to be all on the survival level, but the rest of the time went back to me. That was the investment. Now listen at this. Somebody said something real key. They'll talk about Donald Trump. And a psychologist said Donald Trump grew up in an institution. Wow. And I can see that, because I got a lot of friends who got that money, and they are living in an institution. They be saying, you got the best life, because they got to a certain point where it's hard for the mind to work how it needs to work. They can't see miracles come because they can easily buy it or get it, so they're living a life in an institution. There's no challenge no more. Oh, man. And they got so far out there, so many people are crashing onto them, they are stuck into that reality of an institution, and to break from it is going to be very hard. Oh, man. So if we talk about God as mental and he creates for us through his mind, it'll be hard for you to go to those levels if you got everything you need. What are you going to create with your mind? You'll never see that. Then you see this person who understands, keep the balance. Okay, nobody's arguing, you have some needs, but keep that balance open so you can start exercising this muscle. It needs some pressure on it so it can grow. And there's people that get here crying about what they don't have, and you having a whole life crying about what you don't have, which you'll never get, and you'd have wasted all your time and energy. You went into another level of mental exhaustion. Get over it. I got a relative now, always talk money. Money. Now they old, still talking money. Ain't see it yet. That was a waste of time. They could have been doing other things, making other creations. If I would have thought about money, or how much I did on this ministry right now, I ain't got houses and cars all over the place thinking about it. Those put holes in your mind. I gave up everything. Went to a cave. I ain't saying you got to do that, but that gave my mind time to grow. I started to exercise my muscle, manifest when I need it. That's why I'm like I am. Now I'm up there in the cave where there's no refrigerator, no storage to put the food. It forced me to go deeper into my game. So now I know without a shadow of a doubt. I'll be like this for the rest of my life. Like I said, I'm never going to mow a yard again. For what? Oh man, beautiful day out. But this is what we're talking about again. So again, you need a balance starting out, but you need to get a life of study. This is what it deals with. And it don't end. Just because you hit the breatharian levels do not mean that you have arrived. There's so many different levels. There's beings out there that got so much power, you'll look at them as gods for real, for real. I'm just a baby god. You're a baby god. barbarians, but they once started out like us. That's what the scriptures is telling you. That's why you got to study. You got more to look forward to. Oh man, this is good. Oh man. It gets better and better too. So again, this is Elitom El-Amin. Make study your thing as you keep growing. And like I said, I grew up like that. My mother, she used to love to study, had the books everywhere, had a pencil and pen out, writing things down. So that's how I grew up. We even had a store that we shut it down, but we had the shelves still there, so it was a library there. Then when we used to go to the public library, that's why I said, especially if you're living in a first world country, there's a library in every city. Just about. We used to come out there with stacks of books. That'll be our weekend. And even when I was raising my son, I raised him the same way. Let's go to the library this weekend. You got to be a person to seek knowledge. You might say, well, that's the wrong information, though. What are you saying? Those are the wrong books. Well, go create a book then. Or it's exercising the mind. See, reading was once called divinity. Yeah, it was. Because mostly all the population of the earth once couldn't read. Reading is new to the masses. Both black and white is new to the masses. It ain't always been here. Only people in high orders used to read. Now reading is given to everybody. You got to go get it. It's there through the pages. And that's one level. Then you got to get a practitioner. Be a practitioner to see what these energies are about. So you can start breaking things off so you can gain another energy, gain another strength. Because the mind and body is one. What you're thinking, that's what you're going to become. Oh, man. This is awesome. Now, somebody just asked about, do you speak on celibacy or wet dreams? Well, I do got a package out there talking a lot about it. That's a whole subject within itself. But right now, the basis we're trying to make is get your mind out of mundane things that's keeping you away from your goal. People can keep you away from your goal because you know what they're talking to everyday things. That's cool. But when you become a practitioner, I have to get away from people. That's why they say a yogi spend a lot of time alone. You have to stay away from people after a while. You're getting their talks and stuff, but I need time alone. That's why celibacy in the game. Yeah, I got to get away from other people, even a woman. Yeah, a man and a woman is wired differently. We think differently. That's why we get on each other's nerves and we don't understand each other's biology. I'm talking user-friendly. Right. Need a timeout. Somebody got to say it. So that you can study and become your best and go to your highest potential, both male and female. Then when y'all get together, y'all both clear, you both meditated and all. You study, y'all can share the information, and you can go about your business. This is what we're talking about once again. So we're talking about the Breatharian mentality of study. You need a mentality to want to know. You should, look at that. That should have you in awe. What makes the waves roll? Somebody thinking about that. Look at these birds. There's information on them. And we still don't have all the information. Telling you about yourself, another being. This is the alien right here. We're looking for aliens. That's the aliens right there, a whole community. They got sisters, brothers. They even got a gang. This troop is different than the other ones down there. They ain't going to each other's territory. There's the leader right there. You go right there. I bet he is. You coming checking me out. So again, to know thyself is to know the universe, and everything is mental, everything is vibration, everything is polarity, everything deals with correspondence, so above, so below. Get this information and keep working with yourself. And it's one thing to listen to somebody tell you, but also be a studier, a practitioner in the game to study and learn yourself. So once again, this is Elitom El-Amin. Peace and blessings.